You've been working at Dynamic for 20 years. Can you tell us about an early goal that you had and whether or not you reached that goal?
So originally when we started, right? So again, it's me and my brother that we started this, right? So we actually started doing it in our house from almost early 2004, 2005, right? I just started college and my brother is already in college. He actually went to Fordham U as well, right? So at that point, I used to work at a retail store. It was called Models. I don't know if it's around. They still have some stores around. And what do you do is that, at that time my brother was teaching me how to do the work. Then I would find clients from Models. My coworkers at Models would be like, all right, you know what, Abdul knows how to do tax returns. You know what, go do my tax returns. So they would give me their W-2. I'll bring it home. My brother would enter it. We print it, and I take it. Like that's how it all originally started. Then our goal was to get an office location, right? Because we were already working in other firms, it was I don't want to say it was challenging for us to leave our day job and start entrepreneurship, right? That's always a challenge, right? And I think everybody will face that challenge, and until you're ready, it's difficult to move, right? So at that time, what we ended up doing is we had our accounting jobs, then we would come home and do our dynamic work in our basement, right? Still at that time, we were serving a lot of clients. We were not big at that time, but we were there. Then finally in 2012, my brother left work in 2011, so he started at Dynamic as well, right? Then I was doing both. Then that's one of the goal we had, to open a location. Then I left my job, BDO, right? Then I was full-time in Dynamic. Then we're like, all right, we need to grow. How can we grow? Then we came up with other ideas on how we can get to other locations, right? Which is what we ended up doing, right? So far, alhamdulillah, our goals have been there, but of course, everybody has larger goals, right? I would want my company to be bought out by a hedge fund, right? That would be great, right? But again, we'll see if that happens or not, but that's a goal is always out there. But right now, we are always looking to see what is the next step on what the community needs or what the consumers are looking for, and our goal is basically to meet those needs, right? And as we meet those needs, and you will see from a revenue perspective and everything else, economic perspective, your goals are already aligning.
What can Dynamic Tax offer Jamaica-Hillside residents that bigger household name companies like H&R Block or BDO, as you mentioned, can't?
All right, so no disrespect to H&R Block, they're a great company. I would definitely say my firm's knowledge and experience is, I would say that would surpass those, H&R Block, Liberty Tax, and all of those line, right? Because my staff, it's always constant, right? They've been with us for a while, right? We have worked on various types of clients, right? Now, let's say BDO, right? Obviously, they take on a lot larger clients, right? So what is it that BDO can provide to you that I can't, right? Probably when a company is going public. Let's say you have a company, you have a startup, and now you're about to go public, right? So at that point, I'll probably refer you to another colleague of mine, probably from those type of companies, to take you on, right? Because at that point, it might be a little bit larger than us, right? But if you are trying to get a tax return done, whether you're a large corporation or a small business, we can provide the same service as those large accounting firms. Now, the difference is this. If you were to go into a large accounting firm, you're a small fish, right? And I've been in that industry for a long time, and we used to work based on billable rates, right? If we see a client is paying high, those guys are priority, right? And small accounting firms, the thing with them is that we treat everybody equal, right? Because that's basically the main reason we are in this, right? The reason we are unique, in my opinion? We can provide top 10 accounting firm experience to you while being a small firm.
You brought up how Dynamic Tax was including AI in their services. So could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so we try to use AI to, make sure our customer needs are met, right? How they can make appointments, availability. A lot of times, if they're looking for automated answers without something that an answer, they can find an answer without really finding us, right? Without looking for us. Things like that, we try to provide that services through AI. We also try to use AI for accounting solutions as well, right? Again, all of these are work in process. This is to minimize our man hours. In other words, that may not be the right term nowadays, but that's basically what I'm, right? So from a client side, nothing really changes, but from our staffing side, it helps our staff to get things done a lot quicker, right? So for research is another thing, right? Before we would go through the books itself to find various answers. Now we have various tax softwares that allows us to find answers that you're looking for a lot quicker, right? That's basically what would be the difference, right? Right now, before we would have to, it would take longer time to find an answer if we had to do deep research. Now it takes us a lot easier, a lot less time to find certain answers. So that would be one of the ways. And yeah, so those are the main things I would say.
Do you think that AI has reduced demand? Like, why can't someone say, okay, I'll just ask AI this, I'll ask AI that, and I don't need an accounting firm? Or what would you say to that?
I would say, right now it's always a question. People's worry is that, okay, so people might think accounting firms might be losing revenue or might be going out of business because of AI. In my opinion, this is actually from a lot of tech consultants as well. An accounting firm that fails to implement AI is the firm that will be out of business. But accounting firms that are already implementing AI, they're going to be fine, right? So I don't think that's an issue. I don't think anybody should be concerned about AI taking over their job. People that do not implement AI, those are the guys that should be concerned, right? So yeah, I mean, so in that case, for example, like a lot of these AI softwares can get tax returns done, right? But even, let's say, for example, ChatGPT, right? If you want to, or Grok, or whatever you want to say, right? If you ask it the questions, right? Certain questions about a topic that you do not know, you will see that AI, the answers that they have is actually a lot of times may not be correct. And this has been proven, right? But if you're asking questions to AI on a topic that you already have an idea on, it's a lot easier to navigate, right? So to answer your question, AI is not going to take over accounting jobs. It's going to make accounting jobs faster, but it will not take it over.
Do you have any like tax tips, a few tips for the immigrants population? Yeah,
so what is the difference between a W-2 and a 1099, right? So when somebody is an employee working with, either hourly or salary, right? They usually get paid on a W-2. 1099 is individuals who are contractors, entrepreneurs, right? So they both have different strategies, right? The thing with the W-2 is that you're employed, your room for saving taxes is very limited because you cannot, write off your W-2 income, right? So you might have a software engineer that works in a W-2 at a large tech company. They're working from home, they're traveling to various places, but it's difficult for them to write any of those off, right? They get reimbursement from their company, but it is what it is, right? But now if you have an entrepreneur who's getting paid on a 1099, now that person has a little bit more tax strategy that they can implement, right? They can write off various expenses, right? And there's always ways to defer taxes as well. So to answer your question, I think in this era right now, where this is not a tax answer, but this is more of a career answer. In this era right now, I think entrepreneurship has been growing, right? People have realized that, hey, I may be able to make more money by betting on myself, right? And use tax strategies to reduce my tax liability versus going to work for a company and work 9 to 5 or many, many hours, right? When I used to be at BDO, I used to work like 90 hours. So a lot of times we are working for the other company, right? But a lot of times if you bet on yourself, you might have more room for growth. So that's that, yeah. So but anyway, so sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack. So the advice that I would have for 1099 workers, I would say that, hey, look to make sure that you are covering yourself from a liability perspective, whether if you need to make an LLC or not. Make sure you keep track of all of your expenses, right? So that you could write off as much as you can that is allowable, right? It's easier to keep track if you're running everything through a credit card or a bank account, right? Those are the two things that I would mention. And one of the challenges that self-employed individuals have is that we forget or we fail to save for retirement, right? Because if you have a W-2, you get a 401k. So a lot of self-employed individuals might think I don't have that option, but they do. They have self-employed 401k, self-employed, pension plan, traditional IRA, Roth IRAs, whatever the case it is, right? They should always look into that as well and save for retirement so that they will be okay when they retire. So that would be the main advice that I would give to the 1099 workers.